Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about one of the reviews for God of War Ragnarok and why I think it's like the most accurate. I know like a lot of reviewers touched on this point, but I think like this site or this I don't know publication like Inverse very and I mean got it right. By all means, like God of War is a perfect game. God of War Ragnarok is a perfect game. Like the reboot in 2018 was a surprise to everyone. It was a perfect game, like deserved masterpiece title easily. But this one comes like closely, like very close to the 2018 one, but it comes behind it. So one of the problems with this one, the main problem, there's not many problems to be honest, but the main one is the story. I won't make long. Let's just read from the article that was written like as review for this game. Like the long-awaited return of Kratos is finally here. God of War Ragnarok follows up after the harrowing events of the franchise's 2018 soft reboot, delivering an epic sequel that stumbles at point. Any kind of sequel is hard to pull off. That's true. Any kind of sequel is hard to pull off. Like look at all the movies that you see, especially Marvel. Like all the like started with Phase One. Of course, it's got good, but the quality of the movies like decreased, and especially with games. Like again, everyone was asking the question of is the sequels going to be as good as the this one, as the 2018 one? That was the main question. A lot of people they were especially with again with the Last of Us was like a perfect example. Like, people waited 7 years for The Last of Us, and a lot of them came out disappointed in the sequel. And no one knows if there's going to be a third one or not. Nonetheless, people were hopeful because they trusted the people and the developers behind the God of War. I I I think his name is Cory Barlog, and the way he was talking, like even in interviews, that worked on the original trilogy, but he with the way he was talking about the game and how it came to be, especially like the relation between when he like grew up and got married and became a father, and that how that related to him. And he was like speaking from place of like deep care for this character, so people were hopeful. So I think after like 2018 one finished and got released, 1 year or 2 years after, I saw an interview with him, like talking, saying he's not gonna be because he's not like the man behind this game. He's just like I don't know, creative director, but not he's not deeply involved in this game. He said like I don't want to waste 5 or 4 years just working on one game. Like he wanted to end this, not make it a trilogy, just to end it with two games, 2018 one, and this one would be the last. But no one knows. Okay, so that's it. Like just background. So okay, but Ragnarok provide a bigger and grander experience than its predecessor. That's true. Of course, longer time playing, a lot like especially the combat and areas and the spaces were bigger, and the story were also bigger. Emotional, exceptional combat, yeah, and expanded. They expanded on the combat. Yet, in the pursuit of delivering such bombastic and epic experience, developer Sony Santa Monica still lost its focus on what made the previous game so compelling. Bigger is not always better. This is always people uh, talk about this quote. Bigger is not always better. Of course, you're gonna sacrifice a lot more. There is another thing in this. I always hate when people like stretch properties. Let's make it more like. Look at the Watch Dogs. Look at the Watch Dogs property. Like the first game was okay. I like the first game. A new perspective on like new ways of playing open world. The second one was a disappointment because the first one everyone said it's not fun. It's just dark story, and they made like the second one they want complete opposite. Just make it like silly in a way. But the story still was okay for me. I still enjoyed it, but went down from the first one. The third one was complete disaster for me. Like I hated the third one. Watch Dogs Legion like was dog shit for me. With this one, I always wanted like to do just one or two because when I heard Cory Borlog saying I just want to make two, I don't want to spend more time. So I said in my mind said, okay, they want to work on it to make it good. Two, you can make a good material to make a good story in two games. But in this one, I feel like they put too much in this game. I would have been fine like doing less, the same amount of hours of playing as 2018's, and the same structure of story at 2018. But in this one, it seems like they have two games in one game. Like just want to get it over quickly. I feel in this game they needed a third one. I feel like this game could be cut maybe the game and a DLC or two DLCs. I don't know, but it needed, in my experience or the way I saw it, needed like too much in just one game. Like it sacrificed too much just to be bigger, and the story was like just too much. I think I thought that at the time like they needed a third game, maybe shorter games, but I don't know. Let's continue. Santa Monica loses focus on what made the previous game become. It's always better, and ignore that obvious truth means that Ragnarok is missing key part of the 2018 success: the relatable simplicity of the story. This one, the relatable simplicity of the story, and they are absolutely right. The first one was more linear, like more linear in the story. There wasn't too much distractions. Like we know the story, inciting incident happened at the first. Like this is our goal to take these actions, and along the way, along this journey, discoveries came in here and there. Uh, Baldur came in, and like the story, you can focus on this story. Story was obvious and just enough like mystery to be and to have it pay off at the ending. In this game, too much character, too many characters, and too many storylines. You have a Freya on one side, you have the story of prophecy on one side. Of course, the prophecy is the bigger story like focus, but a lot of distraction in between. Of course, you have a choice to focus on one story or to go, but you are like you can't just when Freya goes, I want to go do this because Odin did this and this. You're always gonna want to go with her on this mission, on that mission, and Angerboda on one side, and Thor, Odin on one side, Freya you have on one side, Mimir, sorry, Tyr, and this whole story on one side. Like too many characters, too many storylines, in just one game, and they made it work. To their credit, they made it work. The game is absolutely fantastic, and in my opinion, the game is fantastic. But like you can't help but feel it when you're playing. Like in the first game, when you played the first game, you have only one thing on your mind, like this mystery, or what is this next, or what is this next. You have only one story in your mind. Focus on like advancing. And this one, you have too many distractions. Father and son. The biggest question about God of War 2018 before it was released was how could a franchise so rooted in the best and worst aspects of 20s gaming to 20,000 gaming be meaningful, reinvented? The answer was restraint. Yeah, they're absolutely right when it comes to restraint. Like to compare like the craziness of 2018's went to 2000s, like the earlier games, it was more like they held back. Like they revealed as the game goes. And of course, that related to, it relates to the character of Kratos. Like he's older, he got married, he has as a child. God of War story can be summed up in one sentence. Kratos and his son Atreus face numerous obstacles on their journey to bring his wife's ashes to the highest mountain in the Nine Realms. That's really it. Exactly. Like the main focus when you start the game, the main focus, we have this ashes. This is our focus point. We want to go to this place, the highest peak of the realms, and spread the ashes. From there, you have this start point and end point, and alongside of there are the obstacles. This is like basic story structure. You start in one place. Throughout the journey, the obstacles like force you to change or secrets get revealed. Like the start of story, you're one person. The end of it, you are changed, a different person, and that worked very well for especially Atreus because we noticed that with Atreus the most. Kratos was only like struggling with the loss of his wife and finding secrets and just not being able to handle his kid by his own on his own. So he's learning to become a father. By the end of the first game, he's calling him son, boy, 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 boy. The famous name was boy, 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 and ended with son. Atreus was finding his the truth, finding his powers, finding his he's becoming a god and how to deal with it. And of course, Mimir along the journey, advising the kid. That was it. It was so enjoyable, focused, narrow, and focused. It was done perfectly. Yeah, it is a story about father and son struggling to define their relationship in the absence of the woman who kept them together. See, over nearly 20 hours of their adventure, Kratos and Atreus are joined by relatively spare cast. Balder, Freya, Mimir, Brock, and Sindri are the only other people who you interact with for extended period of times. The narrative is solely interested in investigating Atreus and Kratos' relationship, as well as criticize, characterizing Kratos and as a person who has grown from the original trilogy. In God of War Ragnarok, everything is bigger. It will take you longer to beat. Yeah, of course, like bigger, more hours to play. There are more side quests, just like I said, more side quests to consider. And these side quests not easy. Like side quests related to like storylines that are important for these characters because in the first game we got to really care for these characters, so I want to know, like I can't just leave it and go on my main mission. The first game we love Freya, like the character Freya, Brock and Sindri, like these play a big part in this one, and we get to know another side character and again go along with their journey. Yeah, there are more side quests to consider, a lot of, and you'll have to rip apart even more big bosses. Yeah, it was one of the aspects of the game that has exceptionally expanded since 2018 is the cast of characters. Exactly, the cast of characters. Whereas God of War 18 was a story about father and son, Ragnarok is a story of conflict at grand scale, mythical figures building armies require, requires a larger cast along their journey. The two now meet numerous gods, demigods, and monsters whose names might sound familiar. If you have watched the Thor movie, these additions enter the story fast and they don't let up. That's especially true. Lost in the crowd. To the credit of the cast, nearly every performance is masterful. Christopher Judge, again, the 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 performances we now get to see more from Christopher Judge as Kratos. Like he's already perfect. Like he embodies the character of Kratos. But in this game, we see the emotional side of him, the struggling side of him more. He shows it more in acting, even in his voice. And Freya, the actress who portrays Freya, is fantastic. It's fantastic actress, especially like the emotional impact she left at the end of the 2018's one, like when Baldur's dies, like exceptional acting, and now she does it again. Atreus, the boy, again, all of them, Tyr, Brock, and Sindri. We see a different side of Sindri by the end of the game. Again, acted perfectly. All of them, Tyr, like the god Tyr, he's like the same from the stories of the first one. He's wise, he's peaceful. When you see him, of course, there's a twist to his character at the end of it, but even like his voice and the way he's portrayed reflects what we know about him from the first game. Yeah, and Thor, like my favorite character in the whole, like the character when I think about the characters, the character that left the most impact on me is Thor, and his daughter Thrud. Thor is menacing. Thor is scary, but they didn't just because by the end of the first game, there's a cutscene when we see Thor like come to the game. We all thought about like this Thor is gonna be the main villain, similar to Baldur, just gonna want to kill Atreus. To some degree, he does, but they gave him more dimensions to his character. They didn't just say this is the bad guy. We're gonna make him the bad guy, and that's it. Like I like this twist about Thor. Like he's just a sad person. He's just drinking all the time. He doesn't know. Like he's been to a degree, in some way, he's been forced by Odin to do whatever he does, killing all these giants. And he has love for his children, for his daughter, for his wife. And by the end of the game, he chooses the right choice. Yeah. So let's continue. Our performance is masterful Christopher Judge and Sunny Suljik, I'm sorry if I pronounced it incorrectly, still have an incredible dynamic as Kratos and Atreus, respectively. New additions to the cast also stun, such as introduction of Thor or the scene stealing performance from Richard Ship as Odin. Yeah, the actor from The Good Doctor, I remember The Good Doctor. He's a very famous actor, but when I recognize his voice from the trailers for the game, like immediately I know this. Like Richard is the guy, like he's Odin because his voice is very recognizable. But for every addition that feels meaningful, there are a handful seems meaningless. Characters will appear, unload their subworthy story in a few minutes, and then exit the story never to be seen again. Yes, this is one of the main like frustrations to me. I didn't see a lot of Thor in the game. Like I wanted to see Thor a lot. Like just encounter him in the beginning. We encounter him like just snippets here and there of Thor. And by the end of the game, of course, we encounter him. Like every time I leave the gameplay, like leaving the game from like playing with Thor, some play Atreus, of course, at the beginning with Kratos. I want to see more of Thor, like more of like interacting with Thor. It just showed up and goes on play many hours until he shows again. Yeah, or the yeah. Unload their subtext story for a few minutes and then exit never. And this goes for Anguboda. Anguboda again, she comes and goes throughout the story, and yeah, non-stop push of the story towards bigger fighter fights and more drastic stakes is coach. Cacophonous. I don't know. I don't know this word. Adventure filled with the sound of a dozen new voices that never stop talking. God of War, Ragnarok become a bombastic ensemble epic that, but loses the heart of what made God of War great. The often silent relationship between Kratos and Triss spoke volumes about masculinity, vulnerability, and intimacy. The grandeur Kratos' mission to take down Odin feels more in line with the character we know in God of War 3 than the one from the game immediately preceding Ragnarok. But the end of Ragnarok players encounter so many characters with their own motives and side stories that it feels like too much of a good thing. Characters mostly have similar stories to tell, all of them appropriately gloomy for the sad dad game. Yes, again, like there are too many stories, like too many encounter, like Freya's brother. We encounter him at one point, but uh, what do I? The characters like they come. There's a theme of like between Kratos and Atreus, like shut your heart to it, close your heart to their suffering. There's always coming back and forth to this theme of like open your heart to their suffering or close it to their suffering. And in one scene, I don't remember correctly, but in one scene, tell him yes, open. Once in another scene, close it. In one scene, tells him to stay away. In the other scene, told him like there's inconsistency in that. But I guess it can be part of Kratos be growing as a father and trusting Atreus more. Like he's acknowledging his mistakes, what he has been telling Atreus is wrong, or he should leave him to his own way, or she trust him. Is also another theme of the story. Important theme is trust, but Atreus is not like the game plays does that perfectly. Like Atreus, Kratos is not gonna trust Atreus like that. So it's like a balance. Like there's mistakes here. Atreus is doing mistakes, and Kratos doing mistakes. And for those two people to trust each other, there need to be honesty between them. And honesty another theme of this game. And I think they went too much with that. Okay, the result of so many characters, even with fantastic performances, is that the story of Kratos and Atreus gets minimized. Yeah, that's again like I'm fine like focusing on Kratos, Atreus, Odin, and Thor. Like these should have been the main characters and the main drive for the story going forward. North Saga Sony Santa Monica forgot how important restraint was in making God of War 2018. Such a compelling masterpiece. And that is for this. And this like with a few more words, this review is perfect. And again, not to take anything from the game. The game on its own is fantastic. For me, I enjoyed the most of it. But one thing I didn't enjoy, less enjoyable for me than 2018's one, was the story. Like too many. too many characters. You encounter too many. I wanted this one. I'm fine with playing this one the same with the same structure of 2018 God of War. Just the story is different now. We have a new stake, like a revenge stake, like Odin and Thor are coming for Atreus and Kratos, and it would have been more like more in line with Thor's character because his sons died on the hand of Kratos, and when they have shown from this game, like Thor is not just an evil person, he's a caring person, a caring father. He's struggling with his fighting with his demons, like losing his sons could have been like a great motivation for him to come for Kratos, and Kratos like protecting his son. This dynamic, and Odin, I don't know, it could have been great, but I think they should have, like I said in the beginning, I think they should have been three games for this. I'm not always on board with three games, but the story seemed too much to put it in just one game. To make it bigger in one game, they should have like made it three games. I think they have like the material to make it great. Like three games, yeah. I don't know, but again, this is my thoughts, and this is like reading from this inverse. I hope you enjoy this one, this review. Please don't forget to subscribe and like this video. That would be great. Uh, have a good day. Bye.